let's finish chapter 16. The seventh angel comes, pours the bowl in the air, and said, "It's done." And out of heaven come thunderings, lightnings, on earth a great and mighty earthquake, never before on earth. The great city was divided in three parts. All the cities of the nations fell. Look at this. Every island on earth is shaken. There's never been an earthquake like that. Mountains were not found. See, that's why Armageddon is really the end. It changes the topography of the earth, which is what we see happening during the millennium. Every island is shaken. Mountains are changed. Hail falls from heaven, each one weighing the weight of a talent. And there comes the human response. They blaspheme God. Okay, so that's how chapter 16 ends. What are we supposed to do with all that? What were the second generation Christians supposed to do with all this? What are all the churches throughout and believers throughout all the ages supposed to do? Well, did you know Jesus, after he described everything I told you in Matthew 24, finishes Matthew 24 and goes into Matthew 25, applying prophecy? Now, some people don't like Paul. They think he, brought up this rapture thing and nobody else brings it up. And they say, all kinds of stuff. Well, do you trust Jesus if you don't like Paul? How did Jesus say we're supposed to apply prophecy? Well, look at this. Matthew 24, 24, 24, 25, 25, 25. Jesus has 6 applications. He said, I wrote all this so you could trust God's words. It is going to happen. I wrote all this so you could look for my return. And he talks about what he wants us to be looking for him when he comes. While we're waiting, he says, I want you to do your job. Remember, he said, you're a good and faithful servant. You all know those words? Well done, good and faithful servant. It's in context of prophecy. If you really believe prophecy, you will say, Lord, remember the circle I told you about? You step in the circle and say, I want to do what you've called me and gifted me to do. Fourthly, remember the parable of the virgins, the 10 virgins? That's one of the applications. You know what he said? While you're waiting for Christ to return, you ought to check and make sure you're really a Christian. Why? Because Matthew 7 says there are going to be many people that thought they were Christians. On that day, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, didn't I do many things for you? Didn't I prophesy? Didn't I do all these great things? And the Lord said, yes, you did all of them, but you're not saved. Jesus had a reoccurring theme that many people speak the language of Christ, but they don't have the new heart. See, it doesn't matter how many times you've prayed anything. Did you get a new heart? Did you get a new spirit? Did you hear 2 days ago what, was it Justin was? Or no, it was Jonathan. He was talking about Ezekiel 36, 26, and 27. What does that say? Or no, was that Drew? That was Drew. I don't know. I listened to all your classes. But do you know what that verse says? A new heart also I will give you. A new spirit I'll put within you. I'll take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you this heart that wants to obey me. That's salvation. Not have you gone forward. Not have you tied a ribbon. Not have you prayed a prayer and repeated after me. Did you get a new heart? That's who's saved. And Jesus, that's a main point, 13 verses of his application. Then he said, don't waste your life. Your life is like getting a talent. Make sure you do what I gave you to do. And then he says, in his parable, they say, when did we see someone poor? When did we see you poor and naked? And Jesus said, when you saw anybody and you were Christ-like to them, it was me you were serving. He said, I want you to go through life living like Christ. The church of 2024 is not characterized, by and large, in the public eye as looking like Jesus Christ. They are issue-oriented, they're fighting, they're very politicized, they're very materialistic. In fact, Barnett and the Gallup and everybody else says Christians are just as likely to get divorced, to live together before marriage, to drink alcohol, to be dishonest as, declared Christians and non-declared Christians. You know what he's saying, all the posters? People need to examine their faith and start living like Christ. That's the essence of salvation.